Start. MTC. Unit 15 No Analysis. Health and the spread of disease are very closely linked to how we live and how our cities operate. The good news is that cities are incredibly resilient. Many cities have experienced epidemics in the past and have not only survived, but advanced. The 19th and early 20th centuries saw destructive outbreaks of cholera, typhoid, and influenza in European cities. 1920. Doctors such as John Snow, from England, and Rudolf Virchow, of Germany, saw the connection between poor living conditions, overcrowding, sanitation, and disease. John Snow, Rudolf Virchow. A recognition of this connection led to the replanning and rebuilding of cities to stop the spread of epidemics. In the mid-19th century, London's pioneering sewer system, which still serves it today, was built as a result of understanding the importance of clean water in stopping the spread of cholera. 19. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 15 No 01. The Ziegernick Effect is commonly referred to as the tendency of the subconscious mind to remind you of a task that is incomplete until that task is complete. Ziegernick. Bluma Ziegernick was a Lithuanian psychologist who wrote in the 1920s about the effects of leaving tasks incomplete. Bluma Ziegernick 1920. She noticed the effect while watching waiters serve in a restaurant. The waiters would remember an order, however complicated, until the order was complete, but they would later find it difficult to remember the order. Ziegernick did further studies giving both adults and children puzzles to complete, then interrupting them during some of the tasks. Ziegernick. The results showed that both adults and children remembered the tasks that hadn't been completed because of the interruptions better than the ones that had been completed. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 15 No 02. Today's music business has allowed musicians to take matters into their own hands. Gone are the days of musicians waiting for a gatekeeper, someone who holds power and prevents you from being let in, at a label or TV show to say they are worthy of the spotlight. TV. In today's music business, you don't need to ask for permission to build a fanbase, and you no longer need to pay thousands of dollars to a company to do it. Every day, musicians are getting their music out to thousands of listeners without any outside help. They simply deliver it to the fans directly, without asking for permission or outside help to receive exposure or connect with thousands of listeners. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 15 No 03. The Barnum Effect is the phenomenon where someone reads or hears something very general but believes that it applies to them. These statements appear to be very personal on the surface, but in fact, they are true for many. Human psychology allows us to want to believe things that we can identify with on a personal level and even seek information where it doesn't necessarily exist, filling in the blanks with our imagination for the rest. This is the principle that horoscopes rely on, offering data that appears to be personal but probably makes sense to countless people. Since the people reading them want to believe the information so badly, they will search for meaning in their lives that make it true. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 15 No 04. In a single week, the Sun delivers more energy to our planet than humanity has used through the burning of coal, oil, and natural gas through all of human history. And the Sun will keep shining on our planet for billions of years. Our challenge isn't that we're running out of energy. It's that we have been focused on the wrong source, the small, finite one that we're using up. Indeed, all the coal, natural gas, and oil we use today is just solar energy from millions of years ago, a very tiny part of which was preserved deep underground. Our challenge, and our opportunity, is to learn to efficiently and cheaply use the much more abundant source that is the new energy striking our planet each day from the Sun. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 15 No 05. Given the widespread use of emoticons in electronic communication, an important question is whether they help Internet users to understand emotions in online communication. Emoticons, particularly character-based ones, are much more ambiguous relative to face-to-face cues and may end up being interpreted very differently by different users. Nonetheless, research indicates that they are useful tools in online text-based communication. One study of 137 instant messaging users revealed that emoticons allowed users to correctly understand the level and direction of emotion, attitude, and attention expression, and that emoticons were a definite advantage in nonverbal communication. 137. Similarly, another study showed that emoticons were useful in strengthening the intensity of a verbal message, as well as in the expression of sarcasm. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 15-06. Paying attention to some people and not others doesn't mean you're being dismissive or arrogant. It just reflects a hard fact: there are limits on the number of people we can possibly pay attention to or develop a relationship with. Some scientists even believe that the number of people with whom we can continue stable social relationships might be limited naturally by our brains. Professor Robin Dunbar has explained that our minds are only really capable of forming meaningful relationships with a maximum of about 150 people. Robin Dunbar 150. Whether that's true or not, it's safe to assume that we can't be real friends with everyone. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 15-07. Training and conditioning for baseball focuses on developing strength, power, speed, quickness, and flexibility. Before the 1980s, strength training was not an important part of conditioning for a baseball player. 1980. People viewed baseball as a game of skill and technique rather than strength, and most managers and coaches saw strength training as something for bodybuilders, not baseball players. They feared that weightlifting and building large muscles would cause players to lose flexibility and interfere with quickness and proper technique. Today, though, experts understand the importance of strength training and have made it part of the game. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 15-08. Many of us live our lives without examining why we habitually do what we do and think what we think. Why do we spend so much of each day working? Why do we save up our money? If pressed to answer such questions, we may respond by saying because that's what people like us do. But there is nothing natural, necessary, or inevitable about any of these things. Instead, we behave like this because the culture we belong to compels us to. The culture that we inhabit shapes how we think, feel, and act in the most pervasive ways. It is not in spite of our culture that we are who we are, but precisely because of it. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 15-09. Words like near and far can mean different things depending on where you are and what you are doing. Near, far. If you were at a zoo, then you might say you are near an animal if you could reach out and touch it through the bars of its cage. Here the word near means an arm's length away. Near. If you were telling someone how to get to your local shop, you might call it near if it was a 5-minute walk away. 5. Now the word near means much longer than an arm's length away. Near. Words like near, far, small, big, hot, and cold all mean different things to different people at different times. Near, far, small, big, hot, cold. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 15 Number 10. Public speaking is audience-centered because speakers listen to their audiences during speeches. They monitor audience feedback, the verbal and nonverbal signals an audience gives a speaker. Audience feedback often indicates whether listeners understand, have interest in, and are ready to accept the speaker's ideas. This feedback assists the speaker in many ways. It helps the speaker know when to slow down, explain something more carefully, or even tell the audience that she or he will return to an issue in a question and answer session at the close of the speech. Audience feedback assists the speaker in creating a respectful connection with the audience. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 15 Number 11. Wouldn't it be nice if you could take your customers by the hand and guide each one through your store while pointing out all the great products you would like them to consider buying? Most people, however, would not particularly enjoy having a stranger grab their hand and drag them through a store. Rather, let the store do it for you. Have a central path that leads shoppers through the store and lets them look at many different departments or product areas. This path leads your customers from the entrance through the store on the route you want them to take all the way to the checkout. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 15 Number 12. Water is the ultimate commons. Once, watercourses seemed boundless and the idea of protecting water was considered silly. But rules change. Time and again, communities have studied water systems and redefined wise use. Now Ecuador has become the first nation on earth to put the rights of nature in its constitution. This move has proclaimed that rivers and forests are not simply property but maintain their own right to flourish. According to the constitution, a citizen might file suit on behalf of an injured watershed, recognizing that its health is crucial to the common good. More countries are acknowledging nature's rights and are expected to follow Ecuador's lead.